the Honourable Prime Minister, Cabinet Ministers, the Leader of the Opposition, dear Honourable Members of Parliament. It gives me great pleasure to stand before you all in this august House at this juncture. It may be 6 months away from national elections, and given the way I have come into this august House, some may say that I am in the middle of a perfect storm. In my lifetime of experiences, I have learnt God in His infinite wisdom has designed everything for our good and to make us Christ-like, to bring Him glory. It is therefore no accident where we find ourselves even under some strange circumstances. God has a perfect plan, and there are no accidents with Him. The family you were born into was no accident. The country you live in, the language you speak, the friends you make, your weaknesses, mistakes you have made, poor decisions, none of them are accidents to God. Failures with your spouse and children, things you wish you had done differently, painful experiences, none of them are accidents to God. I come from a lineage of people of the cloth. My grandparents or Vakatawas, and a great deal, and my great-grandfather came all the way from England as a medical doctor, who later became a reverend in Tonga. For us, the words of God are our guide, as is provided in the book of Isaiah, chapter 46, verses 9 to 10, that says, and I quote, "Remember the former things of old, for I am God, and there is no other, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, things not yet done. Jehovah, the ever-faithful God we serve, knew on this day I will stand before you, all in this august House." Mr. Speaker, sir, I am not here to preach, but I want us all at this time in Fiji's history to reflect on the principles that our forefathers lived here in Fiji. Fiji has a dark history with heathenism and cannibalism. If not for the Christian missionaries, we would still be where we were. Hence, for SODELPA, as a political party, one of the founding principles we encourage strongly is to have God-fearing, honest and hard-working people to lead this great nation of ours. Sadly, there has been a lot of upheaval in SODELPA lately. People like me have never lost sight of the bigger picture. The need to serve our people and improve their livelihoods is a burning desire that drives our days and nights. I've come from a struggling background. My mother went to Prima 3 only, but she taught me and my siblings to value hard work and honesty. When she died, she had $10,000 in her bank account, money she had saved from little sewing businesses and other entrepreneurial work she used to do. It was those principles that I learned to build my business that I founded to be what it is today. Hot Bread Kitchen this year celebrates its 40th anniversary, and over the years we have employed men and women who have built families and sent their children to school to become very useful people of society. I have over 800 staff currently, and for me, we need to be able to walk the talk as leaders, and when we come before our people in this august House, they can say, yes, he or she knows what he or she is talking about. Mr. Speaker, leaders who enter into parliamentary service must be visionary, men and women who serve our people inside and outside of Parliament. In 2014, Mr. Speaker, when the transition happened from Sonko Watani Lewani Bonoa to SODELPA, I remained one of the founding members of the party. At the time of elections then, apart from the Fiji First and National Federation Party, other parties that existed in 2006 were no longer around. SODELPA, therefore, was one of the handful that had the political guts to re-establish itself. And we did so by collecting the necessary signatures from around the countryside as required by law. And for that, I will be forever grateful for the lives of our men and one woman who gallantly went out and did this task for us. even at the expense of being prosecuted for it. SODELPA, true to its nature and intentions to advance the cause of the indigenous Fijian people and to look after everyone, has become a part of this great nation, welcomed all other political parties to come under the umbrella of SODELPA. We had people from SVT, from One Fiji, PDP, Labour, CAMV, and others who joined under the SODELPA banner. So then when people ask what happened in SODELPA, why is SODELPA always fighting? Mr. Speaker, it is because the political ideologies of all these political parties clashed. There was constant power struggle where these other new recruits into the party tried to coup the control of SODELPA by ousting Rote Mumukepa from her leadership of the party in 2015. In fact, they succeeded, as we all know, and took the party to elections in 2018, whereby they had by then managed to recruit candidates who would be loyal to their leadership. Our people will remember, as a result, all the arguments on the use of government grant and the many other evils in SODELPA, where the constitution of the party was disregarded. It is because such gang mentality had taken sprout in SODELPA. Ultimately, Mr. Speaker, we all know the results of such undemocratic and conniving politics. Those same people have either left SODELPA to join newly established party under the leader that tried to coup SODELPA, or they will join him soon. Time will bear testament, Mr. Speaker, to nasty, dirty politics that is not people-centric, but focused on individual power struggles. It is imperative for senior citizens like me, if there is anything else I can be of use for in this august house, to point out such evil intentions that our future generations must be wary of and learn from. Mr. Speaker, those that engage in such unprincipled politics take our people's votes for granted, and they bear no allegiance to our nation and its needs, but their own selfish selves and their kind. Such people must be denounced for who they are, because they are certainly not leaders, as they do not set good examples for our young people to follow. Instead, they teach our future leaders the art of stealing, of conniving, of cronyism and nepotism. And there is no end to the nasties they create in the wake of their departure. Mind you, Mr. Speaker, these traits they will take with them wherever they go, and it's only a matter of time when we will see them squabbling again for positions in the new space they've created for themselves. So SODELPA and our supporters will be the last ones to laugh. Mr. Speaker, we are now at the point where we will very shortly elect our next government. Our people must ask themselves the following questions. What is it that we want from our political leaders? What do we expect them to do for us when they enter Parliament? Mr. Speaker, I have applied and I have been accepted to be a provisional candidate for SODELPA for this coming general elections. I do so because I want to be able to influence policies that are people-centered. I failed to make the first cut into Parliament 2014 and again after 2018 elections. I strongly believe that the old brand of politics of race, religion and provincialism led by my voters being led by provincialism led to my voters being robbed of my representation of their interests in Parliament, and that of our people who entrusted their future into the hands of those they chose to stand for parliamentary service. Mr. Speaker, I now implore our people to be wise. They have now seen the nature of politicians. We have. Some will come around asking for their votes, again shamelessly. After disappearing from them following 2018. I trust people will shun such politicians and likewise refuse to vote for leaders who deserted them before completing their terms in Parliament. When politicians do not respect the will of voters and ditch their parties only after 2 years in Parliament, how can they assure that they will not do the same again after 2022 elections? Just because some leadership struggle doesn't come their way. The question to also ask is, did they ask their voters before deserting their posts? Mr. Speaker, we have politicians jumping around from party to party. As someone who has lived life to the full and witnessed a lot of political evolution over time, I look at such people and encourage all of whom I know not to support them. Why? Because the motives of such politicians are certainly not based on political ideologies or issues that can make a difference in the lives of our people. Such politicians follow people they believe will give them a comfortable win without too much struggle. These are opportunists that run around chasing an easy life. And they will use their money, their charm, and even their professional titles to hoodwink people. What a shame, Mr. Speaker, that in a country that has gone through so much political turmoil like ours, there are still those that are so blinded by greed that they will go to any length to hoodwink innocent, struggling citizens. For me, Mr. Speaker, political parties are like a vessel with a captain. If a vessel goes down because of bad weather, it must sink with all its crew. A captain who abandons ship minus his crew is a deserter who must never be trusted again. In maritime tradition, it is said the captain goes down with the ship because a sea captain holds ultimate responsibility for both their ship and everyone embarked on it. And in an emergency will either save those on board or die trying. In certain countries, captains who abandon their ships are said to have committed a crime. For me, I believe not completing one's elected political years in Parliament is the ultimate crime for leaders who have let down their people, who entrusted their votes to them. It is sad for those who dare think that such people who have failed them in 2018 can win again this time. What new things will they as leaders bring to the voters to enable them to win? Mr. Speaker, Albert Einstein said, and I quote, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results." Mr. Speaker, leadership is about making a difference in people's lives. There is so much that remains to be done. We have people from 3 generations still living in squatter settlements like Ngawea, Valnivina, and Nandonumai, for instance. They are there by the grace of the landowners of such places. But such impoverished settlements cannot be allowed to exist forever without any genuine attempt to provide them with long-term land security, which can be achieved by way of land titles of ownership. Mr. Speaker, sir, I implore our leaders in this august House to stop the blame game. Our people do not want to listen to the rubbish that comes from this House every time we have a parliamentary sitting. Hurling accusations against each other without offering solutions to grant relief for our people must stop. Our youth want jobs and reasonable rent and affordable housing. Our older folks deserve a well-resourced public hospital, not one where 2 mothers died of septicemia in January, February 2020. Such deaths in this modern day and age is unacceptable. Mr. Speaker, I have had people from all walks of life asking me for assistance, whether for employment or the street lights like those from Lami Village, or water tanks from the Wikinikini and Valnivina, or from Ballantyne Memorial School where I was asked to repair teachers' quarters, which had become run down and was close to closure by the Lami Health Department, or to repair a private room at the CWM hospital, which the Honourable Prime Minister then commissioned. My heart has always been burdened to move and to do what I can to assist communities in need, and I did those with my own money. I didn't have to ask for donors to give me money to carry out these important community projects. Mr. Speaker, I am well aware that a lot of these developments are business of government to do. However, we are leaders from the community and we must walk the talk. Parliament is not a place to come and make money or scam money. In this august house, we must plan and devise national policies that serve all of our people. Poverty is an across-the-board issue that deprives people of their basic human rights. Whether in Parliament or outside of it, those who pledge to become servants of the people through this august house must accept that they have the responsibility to provide relief to our people in whatever capacity they can. Mr. Speaker, I therefore ask government to see to it that there is some kind of criteria set for those wishing to stand for politics, that they must have the ability and the resources to conduct some level of national assistance to our people as an enabling criteria for elections candidacy. In the recent past, a political leader has said that during his time of PM, 70% of top civil servants came from his province, and that from his part of the nation. Now, Mr. Speaker, a SODELPA government would never allow such discriminatory policies to be practiced. We will always be fair to our people and ensure an equal representation of all races and people of our various employment sectors. We owe it to ourselves and our younger people a future that promotes equity and stability, not bias, envy, and unnecessary cronyism. Mr. Speaker, I founded Hotbread Kitchen 40 years ago with the late Dr. Samisoni, Tico Eastgate, Tony Phil, and bakers like Joe Andrea from Rotuma, and the Australian David Bedwood. Whilst my colleagues have passed on, and some have moved on to do other things, I have ensured the business has materialized into 27 shops around Fiji, with 2 more targeted for this year. I implore government to support businesses like ours and encourage them with incentives to stabilize during these challenging global environment as we try to recover from COVID-19 pandemic. We must encourage domestic market growth, which comes in handy when the global pressures that are unpredictable come down hard on us. Mr. Speaker, for Hotbread Kitchen, we refuse to send people home as a result of shop closures during COVID pandemic, especially the Western Division. What we decided to do was to get our staff on voluntary reduced hours, or those who prefer to go on leave to do so and resume their things and resume when things normalize. Many of them are now back at work. Mr. Speaker, we must be human about our leadership role. We must understand the struggles of our people in this election preparation period. As national leaders, we must encourage calmness and peace. Each aspiring candidate must continuously ask ourselves, what are our intentions for going into Parliament? We must encourage our community leaders to get people to vote, as it is their civic responsibility. There is no use complaining about your government and resources afterwards if you did not participate in selecting the government of your choice where you had the chance to do so. For us as a political party, we are happy to have gone through our period of uncertainty. It allowed those who never shared the aspirations of SODELPA in the first place and were never true to our party principles to leave us. It is better for everyone in the long run to separate the sheep from the wolves, so to speak. Mr. Speaker, I encourage those who want stable leadership and real change in Fiji to vote SODELPA in the coming elections. Our people must be assured that SODELPA is the only party that has never changed its aspirations. That is why you will not see us engaging in any coalition without proper thought. For we do not believe that the aspirations of our indigenous people, for instance, should be watered down because it is overtaken by other competing political interests. The word of God in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 14 guides us that as a result, we are no longer to be children, tossed here and there by waves and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men, by craftiness and deceitful scheming. We will be true to the needs of our fellow countrymen, men and women, and those who wish to invest in our Fiji. On that note, Mr. Speaker, I will end by encouraging us all to do our best in this august house when given the opportunity. For me, these few months I have been granted will be utilized to make meaningful contributions that provide solutions for our nation development. I will want to present for government's consideration the importance of allowing businesses to do what we do best without much interference by way of restrictive legislation. If there be legislation necessary, they must be created in consultation with those it will impact. Mr. Speaker, we must be solution. We must be the solution, not part of the problem. Thank you, and may God bless Fiji.